To make sourdough cinnamon rolls, I'm going to take 1/4 cup of warm water and add 1 packet or 1 tablespoon of dry active yeast. And set that aside to let it start working its magic, which will take about 5 minutes. Now, in a large bowl, I'm going to combine 1½ cups of sourdough starter, 3/4 cup of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and I'm going to substitute some of my vanilla bean paste that I just recently made. So 1 teaspoon, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of melted butter or margarine. Now, I always use butter. Our approved yeast, and I'm going to start adding my flour. It'll take 3½ or 4 cups, but I'm going to add it a cup at a time. This is the 2nd cup of flour. We're going to keep adding until we get a relatively stiff batter. I think I'm going to add another ½ cup of flour here. And what you're looking for is kind of a stiff batter that's beginning to come together. And here I have greased a bowl earlier. This is what I'm going to let my dough rise in. I had to wash my hands one last time before I get them into my dough. Roll my sleeves up, and I'm going to knead the dough for about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. The dough is ready, so I'm going to put it into my greased bowl. I'm going to turn it over a time or two to make sure all surfaces are greased, oiled. And then I'm going to cover it with a cloth and let it rise until it's almost doubled. It'll take somewhere between an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm going to grease 2 8-inch square baking pans. In a small bowl, I'm going to combine 1½ teaspoons of ground cinnamon, and 1/4 cup of sugar, granulated sugar. Stir that to combine it. And set it aside until we need it. Now I'm going to turn our dough out that has more than doubled in size onto this lightly floured surface. See how pretty that dough is? Now I'm going to roll this out to a rectangle that'll be approximately 10 inches wide and 24 inches long. Okay, so now I'm going to brush the surface with butter, with the melted butter. But I'm going to leave about a 1-inch strip on one side, down the long side, unbuttered. Onto this buttered surface, I'm going to sprinkle my cinnamon and sugar. Now I'm going to sprinkle on top of this about a 1/2 cup of chopped nuts. Now I'm using walnuts because that's what I happen to have. And a 1/2 cup of raisins. And you can add more of either one or both if you want to. Now, I'm going to press those down just a little bit, kind of keep them in place as I'm rolling. We're going to attempt to roll this up like a jelly roll. Now, I'm not usually very good at things like this, but we'll see what we can do. And as you probably know, the area that we didn't butter on that side over there is so that we have some dough for our seal to kind of seal the roll. All right, now we need to cut this into about 24 slices. I'm gonna cut it in half first. Now we're going to put these into our prepared pans. These are not all the same size. Here's the first pan. They're not all that even. I hope that yours are more even than mine are. But they should taste good, whether they're even or not. Now I'm going to cover these with a cloth and let them rise again, and it'll probably take an hour and a half to 2 hours. Our cinnamon rolls have risen until they're at least doubled in size, so I'm going to put them into a 400-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Cinnamon rolls are out of the oven, and I'm in the process of turning them out of the pans to cool on a rack. I've got a cup and a half of powdered sugar here, and I'm going to put just a small amount of vanilla extract, a couple of tablespoons of milk, and stir that up to make a little glaze. We need to let them cool just a little bit, but while they're still warm, we need to add our glaze. We need just a tiny bit more milk. So it's going to be closer to 3 tablespoons of milk. Let them cool about 5 minutes. Before adding the glaze. Alright, so it's been about 5 minutes. They've cooled a little bit. I'm going to put this glaze on. I ran out of glaze, so I mixed up another batch. So one batch is just not enough. I think you're supposed to drizzle, but I like more than just a drizzle on mine. So I think a double batch is going to be just about perfect. So how does that look? Trying to cut through a raisin here. I think that's a winner. Thanks for stopping by.